Bitcoin is replacing the S&P 500 as the benchmark or the hurdle rate for investment decisions. And in this video, I want to explain to you what exactly I mean by this. Let's get started. A hurdle rate is the minimum rate of return that a company or investor needs for a project or an investment to be considered worthwhile. So what you see here is that the hurdle rate or the rate that a company would want is the benchmark. If they can't get that kind of return from an investment, then they're not going to make it. If the hurdle rate is 10% and an investment that you make is supposed to give you 6%, you shouldn't invest in that investment. You shouldn't buy into that project because you want to get a minimum of 10%. So we can see here it acts as a benchmark, ensuring that the potential return justifies the associated risk and cost. Essentially, it's the financial threshold that a project must surpass to be accepted. Here's a more detailed explanation. Purpose: the hurdle rate helps companies and investors make informed decisions by providing a clear standard for evaluating potential investment. So in the legacy financial system, you would probably have seen that the S&P 500 is the hurdle rate. The S&P 500 is a list of the top companies in the US, the companies by market cap. So the top 500 companies get added to this index, and then there are index funds. There are funds that buy those companies and they reweight them based on whatever the weighting is in the S&P 500, that index. So in, like I said, in the legacy financial system, if you beat the S&P 500, then you're doing well. But you have to remember that most people don't beat the S&P 500. Most people return much less than the S&P 500. If they invest on their own, if they buy individual stocks, it's very likely that they're going to make mistakes, very likely that they're going to buy companies that don't do well in the short term. Maybe they do well in the long term, but in the short term, they end up underperforming against the S&P 500. So in this case, in their case, they would be better off just holding the S&P 500 because the S&P 500, let's say it gives them a 10% return and the company gives them a 5% return. If you put $1,000 into the S&P 500 versus that company, with the S&P 500, you would have made $100. With the company, you would have made $50. So we can see here, higher risk projects typically have higher hurdle rates, reflecting the increased potential for loss. The S&P 500 is supposed to be one of the least risky investments because it's very well diversified. There's a very small chance that you lose all of your money. Let's say the US dollar collapses or there's some kind of supply chain issue where the companies in the S&P 500 can't get all of the raw materials that they need to produce the goods and services. In that case, the S&P 500 could potentially fail, and maybe the only thing that you could do in that case would be to buy other asset classes. So in that case, let's say the S&P 500 fails, maybe real estate in another country would do really well because the S&P 500 is concentrated in the US. And the next part here is the cost of capital. The hurdle rate is often based on the company's cost of capital, which includes the cost of equity and debt. So let's say if you borrow money to invest in your company, if you can't get a higher return than whatever you're paying in interest, there's no real point in investing. So let's say you're paying 6% in interest and your company only returns 3%, you're losing money, you're losing 3%. So the value that you produced is less than the value that you have to give to your essentially partner. Let's say you borrowed from your bank is in a way your partner. You have to give them 6% for every dollar that you borrow, so you have to give them 6 cents for every dollar. If you're only making 4 cents, then you lose money. Over the long term, this is a really bad thing because you're creating a net loss. If you're not able to beat that interest rate, then you probably shouldn't take on that investment. It would be better for you to avoid that investment. So in the legacy financial system, the S&P 500 was the hurdle rate because it was considered the standard, it was considered the benchmark. If a hedge fund were to beat the S&P 500, then it's doing really well. If a hedge fund doesn't beat the S&P 500, let's say in the short term it massively underperforms, let's say the S&P 500 gives you 10% and the hedge fund loses 10% because that's entirely possible, then you'd be better off just holding the S&P 500. You'd be better off not giving your money to the hedge fund because that hedge fund is also going to take their fees. They're going to take a 2% cut on the assets that you give them. They may have taken a 20% cut on the profits that you earn. So over the long term, by purchasing the shares of that hedge fund, you would have lost a significant amount of money over buying the S&P 500. Even though the S&P 500 is currently the benchmark for evaluating investments and for ensuring that you're not wasting capital when you use it to invest in something. In the new financial system with Bitcoin in it, I don't think that the S&P 500 is the benchmark anymore. I think that with Bitcoin giving you these massive, massive returns. So let's say in the last year, Bitcoin's up 99%. In the last 2 years, Bitcoin is up 98%. The S&P 500 is only up 21% and 19%. In all of these periods, Bitcoin has beaten the S&P 500. This is the compound annual growth rate. So year over year, these are the returns that you're getting if you buy Bitcoin, and these are the returns that you get if you buy the S&P 500. So the total returns, you can see them here. The total returns from buying Bitcoin over the last 3 years would have been 396%. Over the last 4 years, it would have been 158%. On the other hand, with the S&P 500, in the last 4 years, it would have been 43%. And the last 4-year period was probably one of the worst for Bitcoin because I think that we haven't really entered the parabolic phase of the bull market yet. And I think we're going to go much, much higher than where we are today. So in the next maybe few months, you might see that the 4-year total return on investment for Bitcoin is much, much higher than where it is today. Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate because it's the best performing asset in the world. Instead of holding really anything else and doing the work that's associated with owning those investments, you could just own Bitcoin and do nothing. You don't have to do any work when you own Bitcoin. All you have to do is study how it works, study the security. You can even outsource that if you want to. If you just get exposure to Bitcoin, you're going to do much better than owning really anything else. So, for example, let's say you have the choice of buying an investment property for a few $100,000. You have to put in $100,000 as the investment, the down payment, and then you can borrow the rest of the money. If you had put that money into Bitcoin instead, you'd probably do much, much better over the next few years. So let's say the rental property gives you a 20% return, including appreciation, including rent, including everything, gives you a 20% return, but Bitcoin gives you a 50% return. Think about all of the work that you would have had to do by owning that rental property. You'd have to deal with realtors, you'd have to deal with lawyers, you'd have to deal with property taxes, you'd have to deal with your government, banks, all that stuff. While with Bitcoin, all you do is you buy it, you put it in self custody, and you're good. You don't have to worry about anything else. In the long term, let's say over 4-year periods, you're going to do much, much better with Bitcoin, and you're going to do a lot less work with Bitcoin than you would compared to buying an investment property. So those initial funds that you had sunk into that property, that down payment of $100,000, if you had bought Bitcoin instead, you would have done much, much better because Bitcoin is going to give you a much higher return. So what we mean by Bitcoin is the hurdle rate is that if you're going to invest in something, you have to return more than what Bitcoin will give you in order to have made the right decision. Now, keep in mind that sometimes Bitcoin's returns are going to be lower than everything else. You're going to see that rental property will give you a much bigger return over certain years compared to owning Bitcoin because Bitcoin has these massive bear markets where it falls 50, 60, 80%. On the other hand, rental properties are pretty much stable, but your goal should be to look at Bitcoin versus all of these other assets over the long term. If you don't look at it over the long term, then you're getting an inaccurate view of what I mean by Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. A lot of people see this chart and they get completely distracted. They see that house prices have more than doubled since 2012 and they want to see if that trend will continue. They want to take the safe return where they can continue to earn rental income. Of course, the rental income is on top of this, but you also have to think about all of the work that has to be done with having to reinvest that rental income. That rental income is going to come back no matter what. It doesn't just compound in the property. The property's value may compound, but over time, you're also having to worry about property taxes, like I said before. You have to worry about maintenance and repairs. Then when you sell the property, you have to pay a realtor a massive commission in order to get rid of that property. So maintaining that property and actually holding it is going to cost you a lot, even though the price will continue to rise. And I'll give that to you. If you're a real estate investor, the property price will continue to rise. It'll keep going up forever in terms of US dollars because US dollars are basically worthless. They can be printed out of nothing while rental properties can't. So you might see this and you might think that, oh, real estate is outperforming the US dollar. So that's what I want to hold. But when you add Bitcoin's returns to this chart, you can see that the real estate market is really not doing very well when you compare it to the new hurdle rate, which is Bitcoin. In terms of Bitcoin, the price of housing will continue to fall forever. There are going to be periods, like I said before, where housing outperforms Bitcoin, but over the long term, you're going to see that holding houses instead of holding Bitcoin will be the worst financial decision that you ever make. We won't go all the way till 2010 to make our comparison. Let's make the comparison from 2013. We can see here that the price of a house was 159 Bitcoin in November of 2013, while in February of 2015, it had jumped to 933 Bitcoin per house. So if you had bought the house here and then you sold here, you would have made a significant amount of Bitcoin. But over the long term, we can see here that the number keeps dropping. This price here, 933 Bitcoin per house, was the peak and it was reached in February of 2015. But after this, the price has kept falling and falling. The price of a house in terms of Bitcoin will continue to fall because there are fewer and fewer Bitcoin available to be used to purchase houses. So the people who have Bitcoin, they're not buying houses with them. They're just holding on to that Bitcoin because, like I said, Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate. In the legacy financial system, most people just think that if they get more dollars over time, then they're doing great. If they have a real estate property over time, the value of that real estate property, the price of that real estate property on the market will keep rising and they're okay with it. But the reality is that the money that they're receiving is actually decreasing in value. So they're able to buy fewer and fewer things with the money that they receive from that real estate property. The purchasing power of the US dollar will continue to fall forever because, like I said, more and more dollars can be created and more dollars are chasing the same or slightly more goods. For example, $1 bought 30 Hershey's chocolate bars in 1913. Today, it can barely even buy one. So if your hurdle rate was the US dollar, then you were doing pretty well. But if your hurdle rate was the S&P 500, it was extremely difficult for you to outperform the S&P 500 consistently over time. But if you hold Bitcoin, it's nearly impossible for anyone else to outperform against your strategy because Bitcoin is the only finite asset in the world. It's the only truly finite asset in the world. The S&P 500, of course, will continue to rise as well because it's more scarce than the US dollar, which it's being valued in. But if it's valued in terms of Bitcoin, it will continue to fall and fall. And I know a lot of people are going to look at me like I'm crazy for saying that, but think about it. You have executive risk. The people who run the company could make a decision and the company could collapse. You have interest rate risk. If the companies can't borrow money, they may not be able to buy inventory to sell to their customers and they may have no revenue. You have to deal with competition. There's always going to be a new company that's trying to take the profit that one company is making. They're going to try to create their own products and they're going to put them into the market. And the company that you're investing in may not be able to outperform that other company. Maybe their product is inferior. There's always going to be new technology that's faster, cheaper, and easier to build. So companies like Apple, Nvidia, Google, these companies can be disrupted if another company comes out with a better product. On the other hand, Bitcoin has no competitors. Nothing else, no other form of money can be decentralized. We can only discover decentralization and digital scarcity once. No other asset can have a truly finite supply because every other asset is centralized. Every other asset is created by a small group of people who can change the parameters of that asset. So with Bitcoin being the hurdle rate, every time you make a decision, let's say you invest in a company, let's say you start your own business, let's say you want to buy a rental property, you have to think about it. Is it worth it for you to buy that asset in the short term or even in the long term compared to owning Bitcoin? If you don't know that the investment that you're buying is going to outperform Bitcoin, then you're making the wrong decision. You're losing money. Over time, just about everything loses money in terms of Bitcoin. Everything gets cheaper in terms of Bitcoin because Bitcoin hasn't been appropriately priced. For example, Nvidia stock, the company, is worth something like 38 million Bitcoin. So over the long term, you're going to see that the price of Nvidia in terms of Bitcoin is going to fall and fall and fall until it fits into Bitcoin. So Nvidia has a minimum of 50% to fall in terms of Bitcoin. If you look at the housing market is worth $300 trillion, while Bitcoin is only worth $2 trillion. So you know that the housing market is going to fall and fall and fall until it can fit in Bitcoin. So if all of the Bitcoin together are worth less than the housing market, you know that the housing market is overpriced. Same thing with bonds, same thing with stocks. Companies like Apple are worth 30 million Bitcoin while there's only 21 million to exist in total. So Bitcoin is the hurdle rate because everything is going to be repriced in terms of Bitcoin. The prices are going to fall in terms of Bitcoin because, like I said, Bitcoin is the only finite asset. It's the only asset that nobody can create more of. It's the only asset that has this network effect, and nothing else that can be used as money has the same network effect of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also a lot more usable than something like gold. Keep in mind that gold is worth $20 trillion while Bitcoin is only worth $2 trillion. So over the next few decades or the next 100 years, you're going to see that the price of everything is going to decrease in terms of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. Bitcoin is the asset that's going to have the highest return. You're going to see that the price of everything is going to decrease because, like I said, everything has to be repriced to fit in that 21 million Bitcoin. So if you hold 4 Bitcoin today, the price of a house is 4 Bitcoin. So if you hold 4 Bitcoin, today, you can use that 4 Bitcoin to buy one house. In the next few years, you'll be able to buy 40 houses with that 4 Bitcoin. Then you'll be able to buy 400 houses with that 4 Bitcoin. Then, eventually, you will be able to buy 4,000 houses with the same amount of Bitcoin that it costs to buy one house today. So Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate. If you want to make an investment and it's going to underperform against Bitcoin, you can go ahead and do it, but you're losing capital. Your goal with any investment that you make should be to outperform the benchmark. If you can't outperform the benchmark, then the investment isn't worth it. The previous benchmark was the S&P 500. Some people still see the US dollar as that benchmark. If they have more dollars, they're doing well. And now Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate. It's replaced the S&P 500, at least in my mind. It's replaced the US dollar. It's replaced every other asset because Bitcoin is, at least in my opinion, the least risky asset in the world. It's the one that's most likely to be around in 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, because humans can't stop it. We can't control it. Unless humans are wiped out, unless the earth explodes, Bitcoin is going to be around, and you're going to see that it'll continue to outperform everything until everything else is repriced in Bitcoin.